the prime temptation of the most competent people, that's why it happens to Moses, is that once you have positioned yourself in a position of authority, especially at a pinnacle, the temptation that's going to emerge immediately is, well, why not use power to get things done faster even, to get them done now, get them done for the best possible reasons, but with force and with power. And Jesus says, get thee behind me, Satan, which is also extremely interesting phrasing, because I don't know what you think about this, but I think that's another indication of everything being put in its proper place. Like, if Satan is Lucifer and also the demand for power, if the Luciferian intellect and the demand for power, you don't want to dispense with the intellect, and you don't even want to dispense with ambition. What you want to do is have it behind you.
Become my follower.
Because that's what he says.
Well, then it might even push you forward in the right direction, right?
That's what he says to Peter, too.
Yeah, right,
exactly.
He's setting Peter up as his mediator. And the problem of Satan and the problem of Peter are the same, which is Peter is in the situation where he's tempted to take it for himself. To say, no, Jesus, you don't have to die. Don't worry. We got this. We got this. And so in that moment, he has to be put behind and say, no,
Become
in the proper
my disciple again.
Exactly.
Get behind me.
Exactly.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Because this verse always terrified me as a kid. Not because of what you're talking about, which is good stuff, by the way. Is Satan telling the truth that he has all that dominion? Is he lying?
Good question, yeah.
Or is he lying to himself? And I only got out of the terror by realizing, I'm not claiming I'm right, that he's lying to himself. This is Whitehead's thing, that evil, the one thing we can count on is that in the heart of evil is self-destructiveness.
He's Lucifer in this situation because the kingdom he's offering is the sovereignty over hell. Because if you take the pathway of power, the kingdom you end up ruling over is indistinguishable from hell. So it's very weird, right? Because it's the truth. You could follow that and you could have that dominion. But what you'd end up, I think as soon as you said that, I thought of Hitler committing suicide in the bunker with Berlin in flames. It's like, well, and also you're now the king of hell.
But I was
thinking,
my concern is that would turn this almost into a Gnostic verse in which Satan is the demiurge of this world and God is somehow removed and above. And I don't think that's...
No, but it is... It's presented that way in the New Testament, where in some ways the prince of the air, right? The idea that he is the prince of this world. But in some way, it is a lie. It's an illusion. And what Christ is showing us is that the true unity of things is a different path, right? That it is through this...
The true sovereignty.
Right, the true sovereignty is through giving, through emptying. It's not through grasping and holding. But the problem is that our world is full, right? It's full of that. It's not like we don't see it every single day.
There's
we see it all the time.
And it's even successful in a short period of time.
It works it works.
All the realists and the cynics say that. And the cynic is often an improvement over someone who's naive because at least they can see the existence of power. But the problem with the cynic is the cynic can't see beyond power. And I do think, I don't know what you think about this, John, but I think a huge part of the reason that our universities are in upheaval and our society in disarray is because people they believe that it's true that the world is ruled by the spirit of power. They believe that.
But
and it's a false belief.
It's more than a false belief, right? They enter into performative contradiction after performative contradiction when they pronounce it. There's something that's twisting within trying to make that pronouncement. Right?
That's with corruption, and we can see corruption. We see what it looks like. You see when a state representative decides that it's all about them and their power, and they twist their role, which is supposed to be in service of a higher good and in service of the people, when they twist it towards themselves, and it serves for a while. But
it's the sovereignty of souls. I also think there's another answer to the initial question that you posed, which was, if Jesus were to cede to the temptation, then it would make the temptation what's on offer real, because he would have succeeded in having the Son of God and God himself participate in it. right? I mean, so that's the sort of knot at the middle of it. When you're saying, is he lying? It's like, in success, like, what do we think the capabilities would be of Jesus to take control if he in fact were turned to evil?
Like Gandalf taking the One Ring kind of thing.
That's right. Yeah, it's a good example.
That's the scariest part of that whole movie, I think, is that moment when Gandalf himself is tempted by the ring. And here's this supremely good, character, but you see in his eyes, as Ian McKellen plays him, he's tempted by that ring, and that's more dangerous than the orcs and all those things. It's when Gandalf might have gone
Well, maybe
bad.
it's possible that these temptations mount in significance as they're put forward, with the power being the most significant temptation.
I think it is.
Could easily be.
Can I just ask, there's a sense in which you can only be tempted by good things, right? And here, these are all good things. Tempted by bread to feed his hunger, tempted by the prospect of his being revealed as the Son of God, and tempted by the prospect that all things be revealed as being under and subordinate to him. And the question I have is, it seems to me that his replies in every case, you might say, enact the posture that affirms the deeper good that he would be denying by giving in to the temptation. But he literally says, man does not live not by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded of the mouth of God. By saying that, he's actually, you might say, living on the spiritual sustenance of that higher relationship spiritually.
Well, that's what he says at the end.
Well, yes,
right?
and so too with all the other two. You might say they enact the very thing that is the antidote to the temptation. But it's also very interesting that in every case, he says it is written. So he's quoting Scripture. It's not, in some sense, they are his words as the Son of God. But in another sense, he's not taking upon himself even to answer out of his own words. And I'm wondering what others make of this. Why is it
He does
here
call himself the embodiment of the prophets and the law, right? He's
Yes.
there to fulfill the prophets and the law, not to replace them. And so I think that's a callback to that. It's a very interesting point, because your question is, why does he take 3 opportunities to call back to Scripture per se?
Yes.
Right, when he could, in principle, say something dramatic and original
only
and new.
answering in the language of Scripture.
Right.